Hey there, bros. Coming at you here with another episode of It's Not Over Yet. And this time we have one of the true OGs in EI history, Carl Allison. It was a fun, wide ranging conversation that talked about his early days in the chapter, his rise into different officer positions that he held. He was even my pledge class mom, something I have great reverence for and deep appreciation for the time and experience that he gave me. And also, too, we get into his post-college career arc, which included travel in the world and some really great roles. And of course, we break into that cool looking head of hair that he's got that sustained all these years. And of course, his love for everything metal and soccer. So I hope you enjoyed this really fun conversation I got to have with Carl Allison. All right. Welcome into this episode of It's Not Over Yet. I have one of the true OGs of Epsilon Iota, Carl Allison. Carl, my man, thanks so much. You're joining us from your home in Charleston, South Carolina. What's the weather like this time of year down in Charleston?
It's a little bit cooler this time of year, but it's probably in the 50s,
All
60s.
right.
So compared to New York City, where I just was, this is paradise.
Small town USA. I love it. All right. Let's get the business out of the way. Third SIGs. I need full name, hometown, and pledge class.
Sure. Carl William Allison from La Jolla, California. I was best spring 84.
Best. Okay. How about
Yep.
big bro, little bro, and offices held?
So big bro, Mike Tauber. You probably don't know that name. He was in the house for a short period of time. Little bro, you will know Greg
Sure.
Brassard, Rasta,
Sure.
who I'm still in touch with, which is great. He lives in
Yeah. He's
France. We'll maybe talk about that
world
later.
traveler. Yeah.
Yeah. Offices held. I was a grand scribe. I was GMC, Grand Master of Ceremonies, grand procurator, and then I was pledge educator for, you'll know this because I was your
Yep.
mom, so to speak.
Great and very fond memories of that time for sure. And I want to get into that. When I pledged fall 85, Rush was 2 weeks of an alcohol themed party every night, 14 days plus
Yep.
straight of that. In spring of 84, what was it like? Was it any longer? Was it any more chaotic? Was it completely off the rails, or what was it like when you were roughing it?
It's interesting you asked that because I was amazed. So it was 2 weeks of, at that time we had alcohol sponsors.
Yeah.
I remember, and it wasn't probably when I pledged, it may have been even subsequent semesters after that, but not too many because they shut it down pretty quickly. I remember being sponsored by Cuervo, and someone had brought in one of those barbershop chairs. They got it out there, with a basketball court. And you would lean back and they would start, here's a little mixer, then all the tequila, then mixer, and then they'd spin the chair around. And that was, I was like, really, this is legal? We're all
18.
18. I was 18 when I pledged. How were they? No one checked IDs. No one cared. And then I think we had
Yep.
Rumpelmintz was another
Yep.
sponsor. And then it was, the alcohol company that we got the kegs. I can't remember what, College Liquors or something like
Yeah.
that. And I remember we just got Meisterbrow, the cheapest shit possible, but that was just fine. That was perfect for back then.
As long as it was
So
in
two
kegs,
weeks,
yeah.
exactly. 2 weeks, you're immediately behind in school 2 weeks. I mean, 15-week semester was really 13 weeks.
You were a local boy made good. Why did you stay in town for college? Did you have other opportunities to go out of state or somewhere other than San Diego?
I did. I got accepted to UC Santa Barbara,
Okay.
and at the last minute, they had business economics. I thought I wanted to do business. I wasn't sure. So I ended up not going. And my mom is like, what are you doing? So she dragged me over to state in like June, and it started in August, but it wasn't that hard to get in, to be honest. So they let me right in. Now I know it's a different story. It's harder to get in there. They would have like said, sorry, sir, you're out of
Hey,
here.
everybody
But
qualified.
I went over there, and my intention was after a year, I'll do this and I'll just transfer up to UCLA. I got into Kappa Sig, and I'm like, I'm never leaving here.
Ah, love it.
So,
Okay.
I mean, that tied me down.
Okay. Um, your pledge class was pretty instrumental, I think, in laying this foundation that we talk about so much now. Who were the guys in that pledge class, and how quickly were you able to bond with them and create something really sticky?
So it was a small pledge class. We had a total of 6 people, I believe. Wait, 7 people, 6 or 7 people that were actually initiated. I think we had 2 more. They just dropped out. They weren't into it, which happens in every class. So a guy named Kevin Murray that you probably don't
Yeah.
know, but he actually went to La Jolla High School as
Okay.
well. And I pledged in the spring. So I just ran into him and he's like, "Hey, I got this party. Do you want to go? It's free beer or whatever." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, sure." And I'm yeah. So and I was shy at that time. I was just kind of meeting people. I thought I was going to be, going to UCLA in a year. So I'd been like, whatever. So I went up there and I ran into um, Mike Emmons and Craig Walker. Both are into hard rock and heavy metal. I'm like, cool. Because I always felt like I was an oddball because I like that stuff. So that was a connection. So Kevin was in my pledge class and he's the one that got me there. And he actually never really took it that seriously, got initiated, never really stayed active, whereas I went the complete
Okay.
opposite. Um, and so also in that pledge class was Sean McEwen,
Okay.
who you
Yep.
know, Tim Lyman,
Yep.
Steve Friedman, and Keith
Okay.
Larson. And the last 3 people I just mentioned were all
Yep.
GMs. And I held 4 positions. So we were pretty active. It was a transitory time because in spring '83, the year before, there was another kind of hazing incident. We were on like double secret probation with the school, but also with national. They're like, "One more." So they had to start changing. I think it was in fall '83, the semester before I started, they started changing. They weren't quite as, overt in that
Sure.
time. And so it was a very transitory time because everything was changing. And we also wanted to start having, obviously more people funneled in. We only had 6 people in our class, but everyone was super motivated. And that led to fall '84, which was really a big pledge class and a lot of leaders in that as well.
Yeah.
So it really, I feel it started kind of going in the right direction, meaning growing and also just being a force on campus. It didn't happen immediately, but that was to me one of the impetuses.
In my mind, we stand out because we had so much diversity, so much difference of the people and the lifestyles and everything that drew into our group, right? It made us turn away from other houses maybe because of that. Did you see that then at that time too? Was that kind of what drew you to it? Was this individuality and more of the personalities of the individuals that stood out rather than so much this kind of like cupcake, sort of look and everybody's looking same feel of everybody else?
I totally saw that, and that's so one of the main things. And some of the other guys, because I watched Will's, I watched Gordo's, I watched Steaks. They all did fantastic, and but they had a common theme. One, the diversity. I think really it just helps, and I saw that then. It was great, and also everyone was sarcastic as hell. You had to be able to give it, but
Yeah,
always
thick
looking over your
skin.
shoulder, and but you also had to be able to take
Yeah.
it, and some people couldn't, and they wouldn't last. Also, we would have meetings, pledge, and then afterwards, when you get in the house and you realize we have no experience. We're a bunch of idiots, but we just figure out how to do it. Like a DIY, it's like, oh, this is the wall. We'll run through it or we'll run around it.
Yeah.
We always found a way to kind of think a little bit differently. And we kind of had that Animal House mentality. And that was not, that wasn't that old at that point. So it's almost like that was the framework at times just to do things a little bit differently. And I remember we had a t-shirt during Rush because we used to have Rush t-shirts and the theme was dare to be different. And that just struck, I'm like, yeah, I've always been like a extreme metal guy. That's always been, okay, you got to be different, whatever. But yet we all had a commonality. And when it came to ritual, when it came to actually doing things, we could actually get it done. It was serious. But then it was also super serious, yet we knew how to have some levity and like some
You
craziness as
you
well.
just kinda hit my what was gonna be my next question. In my mind, that was a hallmark of us throughout the years was we took certain things really seriously, whether it was parties or the connection, whatever. But one thing we took seriously, we could always set that aside and do the business, right? We
Yep.
took the and I was blown away because I was a naive 18-year-old kid, really didn't have any understanding or idea. But man, when it came down to the initiation and to the lecture and to the chapter meetings, stuff like that, guys paid attention. Like they locked in and they did that in spite of our
Correct.
diversity and our differences and our desire to be different than everybody else. We took that stuff seriously. How important is that towards pushing that forward and building that foundation of what came later on?
Well, I think it was super important because you couldn't just be an animal house because obviously you're just going to
Yeah.
implode,
The
right?
D's had that. We
And
let the
it was
D's take care of that, right?
exactly. And I have a DU story in a moment, so I'll tell you that when I was a pledge. Um, but with that, we just we also had and me in my life, I wanted to grow. I wanted to keep moving forward, not just do the same old thing. So that I think that led to, the next semester we had a bigger pledge class. And that wasn't just our pledge class, that was everybody who was still in the house. Because that's where the foundation came from. And then it was like, let's get better and get more guys, but solid guys, not just like cast a huge net, have a bunch of idiots, right? And then also you want to get better in sports. You want to have better, relations with better looking or bigger sororities. All you want to get better in every area. Then we started having, we had a couple IFC presidents. We had, Faulkner and Noble.
Mhm.
One was AS president, one was AS vice president. I think Ron Green was IFC president, and then so was Keith Larson. So it was nice to see that we could hold our own and yet still be, you look down, a composite, very different people, and just crazy, wacky, funny, off the wall, not doing things by the book.
Was there ever any kind of an aha moment or a we made it moment in your mind? Maybe it was Keith getting elected ISC president or something like that, where you felt like we got this recognition or we got the acknowledgement of the campus, but we're still doing it our way.
Yeah, so I think that with Keith, exactly, and then also Bill
Yeah.
Noble, he was, fall '84, and so then when he ran for that, and then it was continued with Green, and then with, Faulkner, and just then winning, different, sporting events where we used to be they used to have, like, different tiers, so sometimes we're the lowest one, but then we ended up getting in the highest and winning those things, and getting more recognition. So it was a gradual thing, but there were those key moments that made you proud.
Yeah. I missed out on a good year and a half of um, I don't live with regrets. If there's one regret I have, it's probably cutting out that year and a half I had away from the chapter and
When you were at Long Beach,
goofing
right?
off, kind of goofing off up at Long Beach State. And that was a time at which you kind of rose to power, took on other offices and things like that, and a real, I think, integral time in our rise in popularity and connection and things like that. You, for my money, you possess a real quiet leadership sort of approach in how you present yourself. And what did I miss in that year and a half in terms of that growth and that connection and those pledge classes that came through that? Like what would be your take on what happened in the spring 86 to fall 88 or so kind of time frame?
Well, I think it was just slow growth. It wasn't just, as I said, go out and just bring in 50 guys and it just you lose the
Yeah.
identity. So we kept the identity. We kept that base of that ritual and all those things are super important. And we didn't release anything. Like I remember, and I'll throw this out. If Bill Noble sees this, Bill Noble, when he was a pledge, I remember he's walking up from the pit. He's like, "I'm going to find out what AEK to B means," and I'm like, "No, you're not until you get initiated. If you get initiated," and he never did. But it's like those things meant a lot to us. Whereas, I mean, loose lips drinking, you can think that ever got released. It never
Yeah.
did. That's just one example of showing how important it was to us. And I would not tell anybody to this day. I wouldn't tell my wife. I'm like, you could probably look it up online now, but still, those things to my grave, I won't tell. And that's how serious we were. So that we kept that core of being like that as each semester are growing. And you just got these, if you had 15 to 20, 25 guys, but you had these core guys of 10 to 15 that would be there forever. That continued each semester. And that's what I think really led to us being a powerhouse during those years you mentioned.
Yeah. Would you say that there were some really good practical skills, leadership, business or otherwise, that you took out of your undergraduate career, having been held so many of those offices, that you applied later on in life, or that created a good mental and kind of business foundation for you?
I mean, for me, Robert's Rules of Order, we use that. I mean, learning that's kind of cool. The biggest thing that I learned, because I then went and got an MBA later
Yeah,
on, and all that was so much of it's psychology and being able to work with other people. And so when you're at a fraternity meeting, you have to be able to work with other people. I mean, those things ran long because people had to be heard. Some people like to follow, some like to people have to be led, or some people are just going to go and do it. So that to me was helpful. I didn't know it at the time. I was just like pissed off a lot of times when people, it was just chaos. But for me, it made it easier in the workplace and in graduate school to be able to work with other people that you necessarily didn't agree with it on all
yeah.
things.
You were a longtime dweller of the house itself. When did you first move in there,
Yes.
and how many years total did you live in the house?
I think I was there 3 years. So, I was in school 7 years. I went part-time for 2. I worked for 5 years at this local pharmacy, a bunch of other Kappa Sigs, worked there as well, and I probably graduated with 168 units. I only needed 128 to graduate. So, I was not the best planner at that time, but, never did poorly in school, but just I took my time.
Okay.
So with that, um, we the time it took was definitely I would don't regret it all. It was great. Then when I went to graduate school, I basically did it in a year and a half, and I just went to class, whatever, and got out. For me, uh, school that 7 years was not just education; it was also like your EQ, dealing with
Yeah.
people. I was more of a late bloomer in that
Yeah.
sense. So for me, that was super important. And the house really changed everything for me in that sense. And I have lifelong friends, as we all do, which is that's why we're having
Yeah,
this.
I think we were educated much more by the process than we were any of the material we learned in a classroom, right? Of the being there and the relating and the experiencing life the way we did, much more so than anything I could have got out of a book or from a professor.
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with that 7-year plan, by the way. I'm totally down with that. There is a total of 7 years between my date of college and the date of my diploma, so there's no shame in that at all.
Oh yeah, no, I have no problem. I'm fully out in terms of people like, oh, I graduated in 4 years. Or I went to this school. I'm like, none of that shit matters to me. And it's like for me, I wouldn't trade it for the
Well,
world.
you were a finance major too, so it's not like you were knocking down, some lazy, like liberal arts, come in if you want to sort of approach,
Yeah, finance major, and then I got my MBA with a concentration in finance. So yeah,
Okay.
definitely, it's been good.
Two important elements I think that a lot of people know you for: your love of the metal and that beautifully coiffed head of hair that you got and you maintained all these years.
Yep.
Let's go with the hair first. When did that hairstyle first get adopted? Were you rocking that back in high school and just carried it on?
No. So I had like a German helmet. It was just like bowl cut for a long time, and then I had it as a pledge, and then I forget. I went to there was this like local barber shop that was kind of like this trendy place where I said, "Give me a flat
Ralph,
top, just do
right?
it."
Wasn't
What's
it
that?
Ralph's or what was the
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
Ralph's, exactly. I didn't know if you knew it.
yeah.
Yeah, that was my go-to, and that became my signature thing, and I didn't ever wanna change it. But for me to do that, to see my ears, I didn't wanna do it. I felt naked or whatever, and then I did it, and I just didn't look back, obviously. It's just grayer now, but pretty much the same.
Looking good, bro. I think you are the only one that could rock that, and good on you, man. That's great.
Well, thank you.
Um, I thought I knew a lot about music coming into college, and then I met you, and you turned me on to stuff that just blew my mind, and I was borrowing vinyl from you all the time. Where and when did your love for music kick in, and why did you gravitate towards the metal side of the world?
So, interesting. It started probably in '75 when I was 10. I was born in '65, I'm 60 now, and I listened to Zeppelin, Sabbath, Aerosmith, so, like, hard rock metal. And as it gravitated, it went to like the punk rock as well. Um, then it went to thrash metal, Metallica, Slayer.
Mhm.
And then there's black metal, there's grindcore, power violence. It just kept getting more and more extreme. But at the same time, and I still listen to all this stuff and listen to the craziest shit. But I also liked, like alternative. I just, I didn't like hair metal. I don't like pop. I don't like just a lot of classic rock. I like extreme stuff. I'm wearing, obviously this
Yep.
shirt. I still go to shows. There's something about it that it started at a young age. And I love some of the old stuff, but I'm always looking at new as well. And most of the stuff now would just scare the hell out of people, or they just think it's
I
noise.
was gonna say, does it ever blow people away when you're connecting with them on a professional level or something like that, and you get to the point of, well, you're like, "Well, yeah, I'm a big fan of Cannibal Corpse and, other bands like that." Did they just kinda like, "Wait, what?"
It did for a while. I would kind of not hide it because it was always like, oh my god, the finance guy is totally into the stuff. But now, and I'll this is kind of jumping. We'll go back to this a little bit. Now that I work, at a cannabis company that I'm a co-founder of, I just recently I wore this shirt. I just didn't even realize I had it on. And we're talking with these guys that might buy a license from us for like $6 million. And I'm like, oh shit, I see myself as the meeting starts, the reflection. I'm like, I'm wearing this shirt. What do they think? That their CFO is like, oh dude, I'm totally into Cannibal Corpse. I'm like, oh, it's paying off finally. It only took, 40 years, but it's not looked down upon as much. I mean, when I first started listening to Metallica, which is like a week after their first album came out, people are like, oh my God, you're satanic, you're this, you're that. Now people are like dancing to that shit at
Yeah,
weddings.
yeah.
It's
It's as
crazy.
mainstream as it can get practically,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I just like, just follow me. It'll be cool in 30 years.
yeah. Did you get the MBA right out of college, or did you wait a bit?
No, Uh, not till 2001 is when I started. I got it in 2003, so a lot later.
Okay. Why the break? What did you do right out of college? What was that first job?
So right out of college, I moved up to some buddies of mine from high school in Culver City, and I lived there for a year. And I had started looking for a job up there, and I was out at Third Street Promenade, which is in Santa
Yeah,
Monica, and I was at a place called Chillers, which are basically alcoholic
on the
Slurpees,
wall, yeah,
and I'm there one night, and I run into Scott Warity,
okay.
and, he's like, "Hey, how you doing, bro?" Whatever, and he's like, "Hey, I have a temporary job for 12 days." I'm like, "Sure, I'll just take I need something, get some experience, whatever," and it's to work at Miss Universe. And he goes, "You'll just come in. It's not really an interview, but just meet the people. You'll come out for 12 days and you'll go out to a pageant in Wichita, Kansas." All completely foreign to me. Like, what's okay? So that 12 days turned into 9 years
Wow.
at the company. And so I worked with Scott and actually under Scott for like 4 years. And then I became ultimately the CFO there. So I was there 9 years. And that's where I met my wife. We worked the last year I was there. And during that period, I lived in Culver City for 1 year. And then I moved to the South Bay, to Hermosa
Okay.
Beach. And I moved with my roommate was Kevin Melton.
Okay.
So you'll see a lot of these things are come back. I mean, this is, Kappa Sigma is for life kind of
Yeah.
thing. And this is really Kappa Sigma for life. When you're living with Kevin Melton for a year, but he found this great place. You're familiar with the South
Oh, for sure.
Bay, 333 27th
Yeah,
Street. So it was up on a hill, but just walking to the
yeah.
beach. Loved it. There were so many bros that lived down there. I actually started playing volleyball down there. We would meet up every weekend. And it was really a continuation of college, except we had money.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but we
Right,
had more. It was
right.
crazy. So it's just like, oh, wow. And it was just great. And it was just so beautiful. I mean, now everything there is, 10 to $20 million for these little
Mhm.
shacks. But back then, my rent was $500.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. So with Miss Universe, I got to go around the world to Miss Universe pageants and bros. I mean, I remember Melton came out to Thailand. He at Mexico City when we were there. Dabo came out when we were in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Okay.
And then when we would do domestic shows, Miss USA, Miss Teen USA, bros would come out all the time, and I would be able to just take them out. We'd have to go to parties, go behind the scenes, and they got to go to the shows. So it was amazing. Again, that continuation of brotherhood was amazing.
But and then that also too, that period of time in your life, like you said, you met your wife, you're running in some pretty heavy circles there, bro, and even after you stopped working there, continued to run that with your wife moving on, up in that organization. Um, you could drop some pretty heavy names here, bro. Like,
Well, it was interesting because it was owned by Madison Square Garden,
okay,
which was part of the parent at that time was Paramount Communications. And so Madison Square Garden decided, you know, we want to sell this. It's really not a fit for everything we're doing. But I used to go out to report to New York. We go to Knicks
yeah,
games, we go to Rangers games. We got to all this stuff. It was really cool. It was a cool connection. But then when they went to sell it, Scott Wade had moved on. I was the vice president of finance at that time, and I was one of three people that on this team to sell it. And so we had six companies come through, and there was a seventh behind the scenes one, and that was Donald Trump. So he ultimately bought it. So I was there, and he did a behind the scenes thing, and bought the company. Then I had to go out and meet with his CFO and his controller. So that was a shock because at day one they're like, "We have nothing for you. We have no accounting system, no payroll, whatever. You got to set it all up." Because at Madison Square Garden it was all handled. So I'm like, "Oh, this is going to be a quick fix." But then it was Alan Weisselberg. He was indicted. I don't know if you've heard of
sure,
that
yeah.
name. So that's who I used to report to. And then that was, I would say, some heavy hitters. Met some pretty interesting people
Yeah,
during that
world
time.
leaders, political leaders, sports and entertainment and things like that that you're rolling with,
Yep.
flying private all around the world and things like that. I'm only about 1,000,000 pages through the latest 3,000,000 page dump of the Epstein files, but I'm not to worry about anything your name popping up in there anywhere, are we? Okay.
Correct. Now you're going to have a good question, but no, I'm good.
I knew that in my
It's
heart, but
fine.
I had to get there. Um,
And one thing to add on to that is that so I left in '99.
okay,
My wife she started in '98 there. So we worked together for a year, and she stayed there for 25 years. I never really left Miss
right.
Universe. So then when which we'll talk about when I moved to New York City, I just have all these friends from '91 when I started up until 2023. So I still kept traveling, and the people we met and heads of state, but it was now through my wife, which was it was so cool. It never ended. It was almost like the fraternity in a way. I'm glad that Miss Universe has finally ended, but it was amazing the opportunities that it afforded both of us.
But it ended because of the sale, and then you wrap that up, and that kinda was the end of your job, or did you stick around after a while as CFO and then
I
and just
was
got tired of it and
offered
found something else to go and do?
they moved they moved the majority of the office to New York, and they offered me a job there. And my wife, who was vice president of finance at the time, she said, "You can stay in LA." And and I said, I've been there 9 years. I need to go do different things. So I had a choice. I decided not to.
Okay. And
But then I didn't realize that she was going to continue that long. I really never left in a weird way. I mean,
yeah,
it's just so it was kind of the best of both worlds.
pillow talk or otherwise, that's something that's gonna carry on, and a role like that is certainly big enough to where it's it's gonna take up a lot of your headspace and everything else. What was next after that for you? What did you get into after that role?
So when I left, was the same time that I left the South Bay, and I moved in with my wife, or, my girlfriend at that time. She had a house in Sherman Oaks
That's
up in the
right. Yeah,
hills.
yeah.
We were like the poor white trash compared to these, but, it was a small house, 2,000 square feet, 13,000 square foot lot, and the deck was 2,000 square feet. It was amazing. Um, but, there's earthquakes, there's floods, there's fires, all that shit, which I'll get to later. That's why we finally left it. But it was amazing. So we were there, and then we got married in 2001. And I think I sent you a picture of all the bros that were
Yep.
there.
Yes, I do.
And then in 2001, my wife she was vice president of finance, but she became president. And so that's when she was flying back and forth to New York City, because the owners at that time it was Donald Trump and CBS. So she reported to, like, Donald, and then to, one of the heads at CBS. And that's when I was in graduate school too. So I was, working at that time at AVP,
Yeah,
Association of Volleyball
yeah.
Professionals, where I worked for a year. So the owner was Leonard
Yep.
Armato, And I don't know if you know that name. You
Yeah,
might just he was a
sports
sports
agent, and
agent.
yeah, yeah,
His biggest client is Shaquille
yeah.
O'Neal. So this dude made a lot of money off of that. And, I got to meet Shaquille once and some of his other people that he had as well. I worked there for just 6 months because my wife is saying, you know what, just quit your job, get through your MBA as fast as possible, and you'll move to New York.
Okay.
So that's what I did. So it was a nice experience. It was weird not working, but just school. That's all it was. Just got out as fast as possible. And we kept the house in Sherman Oaks. Um, so I moved in 2004. We kept the house there, just packed it up, and we were in New York City. We had an apartment there till 2023,
Okay.
which was insane. But we left uh, California in 2014. We said, I'm like, we're never there. There, as I mentioned before, there's fires, floods, and earthquakes.
The
I'm like,
occasional
let's
riot.
just,
Yeah.
yeah. And we were on a hillside. At some point, I was just expected the house to go down. Yeah. So we sold that and we bought the house while living in New York City in Charleston.
Okay.
So that's what kind of led it there. And that was totally random. Why I chose it. But I very happy that we did.
And looking back on it, was the MBA more of a necessity to have the initials attached to your name to get that next level job, or was it more, I need the nuts and bolts of that education and that side, that mechanical side of understanding all the elements that make up that MBA?
I think it was both. So I was shyer, as you said, I'm quiet, but confident and still not as confident. So going to grad school, it's all, or at least MBA, it's all group work. It's all giving presentations. It's not really much test taking. And from a business sense, when you are an undergrad, I was business administration, finance, there's accounting, there's marketing, there's management. What the MBA really does is looks up top level, being more at a C-suite and how do those all work together and controlling them all, seeing the big picture as opposed to one little silo. I'm in finance. I really don't know what goes on in the other areas. And as I mentioned before, the psychology, working with people, um, it was great to have that foundation of education, the foundation of the confidence that it gave me. I have no problem speaking in front of people
Mhm.
anymore after that. And then also it does help to have the MBA. It's an insurance policy. And the reason I actually I went to CSUN, California State University, Northridge. I was also looking at UCLA and looking at USC. Whereas when I went to CSUN, they said, you've already done all the undergrad stuff. So you don't have to take 5 courses. I'm like, okay, that's great. SC was like, it's going to be 3 years, a ton of
Yeah.
money. And then UCLA, they wouldn't drop any courses. I had to retake stuff. I'm like, I just can't do that. And CSUN was probably the closest to me.
You didn't show them that 40 units of water skiing and soccer?
Exactly. Yeah. Everything that ended in a Y. What about this? No, yeah,
Come on,
they
like,
did not care.
I've got the units here. That's crazy.
Exactly.
Um, Tell me about your love of the sport of soccer. When did you fall in love with soccer?
So I started playing at 7 or 8, and I was on club teams, La Jolla Nomads, which San Diego Nomads, which is still a really good club up until high school. And I played on my high school team, and I thought about it going, San Diego State, but at that point they were really good, first of all, and and then I was just burned out because I was just playing all the time. So that was my love of playing soccer. Um, my love of I don't know if you know this, or some people will that see this. Is I've been an Arsenal fan for 31
Okay.
years, and and people ask, well, how the hell did that start? So I was in Namibia when I was working at Miss Universe. We were
Of
there for
course you
six
were. Yeah.
weeks. Yeah, everyone's in
Yeah.
Namibia, and we were at this hotel, and they hadn't opened yet, so there wasn't a whole lot to do, and they were still finishing the hotel. So they had pool, but I wasn't even ready yet, so you couldn't do anything. So I started watching the Premier League, and everyone I already knew about Man United, Liverpool, all the teams that everyone are popular. So I just fell in love with Arsenal. Came back to the States, still couldn't see the Premier League games until like 98, 99, and then so I was a fan, but then I became a rabid fan. And then now you can see every game that they play. And I just was in London with my wife, and we got to go to 2 Arsenal games finally in my lifetime, which is
Wow.
great. And through her connections, she since you and Steak were talking about sports, you'll understand some of these things. Um, so you know who Stan Kroenke
Sure.
is? He owns the
Yeah.
Rams. So he and his son Josh, they own 100% of Arsenal.
Okay.
So we and the manager of Arsenal is a guy named Mikel Arteta, and his brother-in-law is one of our knows one of our friends. So through that, they're like, "Hey, can you get some tickets for these guys? Um, they'll pay for them, not a big deal." So it was looking really bad, like we weren't going to get them. It's the night before the game, the game the next day. We get this email from Mikel Arteta's brother-in-law and says, I have your tickets. Here they are. Um, your husband has to wear a suit. You have to dress up." And I realized we were in the director's box, the owner's
Whoa.
box. And this is, I can't explain how next level it was. And so then Josh Kroenke is there. Um, Jason Sudeikis from Ted Lasso is there.
Wow.
Coach Beard, Brendan Hunt's there. And everyone's saying, "Well, did you get pictures?" I'm like, I didn't want to be that
Right.
guy, and it wasn't the right time. And it's all just like millionaires and billionaires in this place. It was next level insane. I just wanted to go to a game. I didn't expect that. So my love of soccer is long. My love of Arsenal is 31 years. So it was really cool to just come full circle. And that game was also the North London Derby, which is kind of like Red Sox
Okay.
Yankees. And so Tottenham is literally like a mile away, their stadium, and they go at it. I mean, it's crazy how much they hate each other. So we got to go to that game and they won. I think it was 4-1. So it was great.
How cool is that? What a way to blend in this lifetime love of a sport and how passionate we can be about that and have this super exclusive experience like that. That is
It was really cool. And they still, especially in the UK, they're like, "Oh, Americans don't know anything." And another thing I don't know if many Kappa Sigs would know, I was actually born in the UK. Um,
okay.
and so yeah, that might be new to you. So my dad was a professor of
Okay.
biochemistry. So he got his PhD and then met my mom. They got married and they went straight over to the UK to Cambridge, which is University of
Yeah.
Cambridge. Cambridge and Oxford are like the two big schools. And he was doing his postdoctorate there. So then about a year into it, I came along and I was just there 3 months. But so I have I still have dual citizenship.
Wow.
So I would throw that out there I'm like, first of all, I'm British too, you motherfuckers. And yeah, we do call it, I know the game, as well, all that stuff. Yeah,
I belong here. I belong in this room. Yeah.
exactly.
I'm worthy of being here. We had so many great times as that I remember in that pledge semester. And like I said, I missed some of the good stuff with you as being an active. How many Mexico trips do you think you made in your years as an undergraduate? Whether they were just for a night in and out, or whether they were down to Felipe for a long pre-spring break sort of trip.
That's one thing that most people don't get, that not only did you go to San Diego State in San Diego, which is wonderful, is you live literally a half hour from another country where the drinking age was nil. They didn't, I mean, they say it's 18, but it didn't matter, right? You have a pulse, you're down there. And at that time, as far as we knew, you wouldn't get kidnapped or your head chopped off or hung from a
Yeah.
bridge. So it's still safe to go at that point. How many times? I'd say between 50 and 100.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, just we were there all the time. It was pretty much at times like I would schedule during my 7 years. Hey, I don't want a Friday class. So Friday class sometimes was just go to
Yeah.
Mexico,
Because you needed
and we'd
another.
either drive across
Yeah.
or you would park and take a cab down or walk, all the way to Revolucion. Or if you went down to Rosarito or
Yeah.
Ensenada,
If you found that you needed a blanket or a ceramic surf monkey or something like that, we're just 20 minutes away.
100%.
We might as well go and make a night out of it, right?
Exactly. And I mean, going to Felipe, that was definitely I was a spring semester, so therefore they did it in the
Yeah.
spring. I was amazed. So I went down there as a pledge my first time, and I'm like, "This is the greatest place in the world. This is awesome." I think that it was $5 for a case of 20, and it came with an opener, and then you return the bottles and got like a buck back or something like
Yeah.
that. Fish tacos, right? That's the first time I had them. That was just I think Rubio's had already opened their first one in Mission Bay, and then they shortly thereafter opened Rubio's in on
Right there,
campus.
yeah.
And Ruben Rubio, I think he went to San Diego State, so he would go down there. So that's another tie. And then going down to subsequent years in Felipe, then it was breaking down. I remember I went down with Green in his giant green station wagon, and I think there were 2 or 3 other people with us. And of course, like 2, you know, tires blow, and we're like an hour away from Felipe.
Wait, that was
And
Green breaking down or the vehicle you were in? Because Green
the
is known to
vehicle
break
breaking
down
down.
quite a
No,
bit.
Green was still conscious at that point. Good question though. Yeah, totally
Better keep an eye
relevant.
out there.
And so it was Kurt Hartman and I, because I think Green and someone else, a bunch of people are passing us as they're all heading down that week, whatever. And they're like, oh, so they take him in the city. We're there for like 4 hours, just like people would stop. We'd have a beer with them. They keep going. We throw a football, getting bored, waiting. Is Green ever coming back? And now I look back on it is if we did that now, we'd definitely be dead or kidnapped or whatever. And at that point, we're just like, whatever. The biggest fear was like, oh, we're going to run out of beer. I mean, that's all it was. And then another one that I remembered was the famous Melton RV
Ooh,
rentals.
okay. Oh,
We go down 15 people in this thing. Um, we cross, you go Calexico in the States, you go into
yeah.
Mexicali. Just as we're getting out of Mexicali, the thing starts boom, boom, sputtering. We pull it in someplace and we park and we're like, what do we do? There's no cell phones or anything at this point. We're in Mexico. And of course, Melton had some sort of special or whatever, got a deal on it, and the thing, and blew up or whatever. And so some people actually, they got in touch somehow with other people and started kind of splintering off. And then it's getting dark. We realize we have to spend the night, and everyone's drinking, having a great time in this giant RV. Some people are on the roof. I was up on the roof, and I noticed there's this little light doing this thing. And I look down, I'm like, we're on fucking train tracks, and there's like a train coming down. Not fast, but still, I'm like, it's still coming. We're in Mexico. And I think I'm like, shut up, shut up. We got to move this thing. We did get it moved. I don't know if there were a couple tracks, if it was going to hit us or not, but that just kind of was indicative of the trip. That to me was like that became the norm. You have no money. Everything's janky. Everything is just, no communications. People today would laugh at it because it would be so easy to kind of not have that. You would just, oh, AAA, whatever, email, text, whatever. Then you're in another country, and Mexico at that time was definitely very different than it is now.
Yeah.
And so then when we got down there, most people had left. We got another camper like a day later. So we get down there, and I won't mention the person's name, but we were there and people were sleeping on top of it. Dude rolled off and stayed the rest of the weekend with painkillers and kept drinking. I think broken shoulder or whatever, and just did not do anything, just stayed there, went back, and then had it all set or whatever. Will not mention the person's name,
Okay.
but again, that was kind of the norm, just crazy shit like that
Yeah,
happening.
Mark Brown has a similar story. He didn't exactly roll off a second-story balcony, but took a good fall like that and rallied the rest of the time too, and didn't leave. Mexico has a way of bringing that out in people, I think, one way or another.
100%. And so that's the Felipe side. Then going to Tijuana, as I mentioned, let's say 50 to 100 times, maybe it's 25 to 75, whatever. It was a lot, right? Um, I remember a story that, and again, this is kind of foggy. So I'm asking you because you were there. And when I took the pledge class, now this is different. And the pledge class down, we went down like on a pledge class trip, and we went, the usual stuff, had some food, drinking, all this stuff. When we were in a liquor store, and I believe it was Marty Canales, and I think he had like a trench coat or a top coat
Yeah.
on. And unbeknownst to me, all of a sudden we're standing there. All of a sudden, a bottle comes out from it's in his jacket. He was stealing it. It breaks on the floor. And I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? The person, we all just, I'm like, run. So we all just ran. And again, no cops were, chasing us at that time or whatever, but who knows? Again, that was kind of just the stupidest shit that you do in a foreign country, how you end up in a jail or something like
Yeah.
that.
Or the
I don't, do you remember that? Was it Marty Canales? For some reason, I that sticks
that
out.
kind of, there was a picture that posted in a group chat that we have, I think might have been of that same trip. And I'll send it to you when we're done, because all of us heads and Tom Cleary, RIP, was in the picture and everything like that. What I remember, and may or may not have been the same trip, is that we were walking back, you, me, and Ken Cobbett, and maybe a couple other dudes, and you have that spiral bridgeway that goes across. You come up the spiral, go walk across, and drop down. Then you're walking back into the U.S. And we were all roughhousing and knocking each other around. And I had a bottle in my pocket and get a nice check into the wall. Well, I missed the wall and then fell and broke on the bottle. And then the three of us drunk asses had to go to the hospital to get me stitched up. I remember us all in the room there with the doc, and the doc's like, I'm going to give you some, Novocaine or whatever. I don't think you're going to need it. I'm like, can I watch? And we're all three of us were sitting there watching the docs suture me
Totally.
up.
I mean, we went down. I remember there was CHP when we got out of the bridge, and they're like, we can't do anything. So then Cobbett had to drive to a hospital, and we were just in Mexico drinking. And then we did that. Yeah. I mean, you didn't need Novocaine. None of us probably did. We weren't like, at that point, it was more in shock. So you're probably fine,
Yeah.
but it was bleeding pretty badly. And you still have you have a tattoo, and you also have your little scar there. Another
Badge
memory.
of honor, man. Badge of honor.
And
Go ahead.
well, I was going to add just the other, going to Mexico. I remember I probably didn't have it, but keeping $20 in your shoe when you go down to Rosarito.
Yeah.
I remember we were down there, and I wasn't driving, but Cobbett was driving our car. We get pulled over, and there was a cop on either side. They roll down the windows, and then they go through our glove box, and it was my car, and it was like nuts and bolts or something like that. And so most people would just acquiesce and do whatever. Cobbett just starts yelling at the cops. Fuck you! No way! That's wrong. So he went like the opposite way you should go. But all of a sudden, they let us go. I was like, couldn't believe it. I go, that's the smartest thing, ever. I took that chance. But so many trips down there where just crazy stuff happened that I would say a lot of people at other schools wouldn't have those same experiences. Just being able to go to another country, and Mexico was just so cool. It was cheap. It was friendly at that time.
Carl, there were zebras on the street. You could see a live zebra right there.
Then there's the mules that paint. Yeah, just crazy shit. Surf monkeys, all that stuff. So everyone has a million stories down there. Everyone has a Mexico story. Kappa Sig, and how many times we were down there. And I haven't been back in so many years. But even after in college, I remember Melton got a bus, picked people up in LA, Orange County, and San Diego. So 65 people. And we go to Rosarito Beach. And it was just, going back, it wasn't the same, but it was still amazing.
The lobster tacos and stuff you can get down in Rosarito, still first class. That there's no one else that can do it that good. I want to wrap you up. I know you got stuff to do. It's Valentine's Day and all. You got stuff to do tonight. One quick follow-up kind of bounces back to your time with traveling the world, both when you were Miss Universe and then after. What countries stand out, the ones that really just fired you up the most, one you really appreciated, beauty or otherwise? You've been all Namibia, for crying out loud. What countries really stand out in terms of like having a really big impact on you?
So one is Namibia.
Okay.
So when I went to Namibia, I got to stay in South Africa for a day. It was kind of cool. Didn't get to see a lot of it. My wife's been separate from me. She's been to Cape Town and stuff like that. But in Namibia, we got to do a true go to a game reserve. But there's just zero rules. So we had a Land Rover Defender. We drove from Windhoek up to Etosha, which is this game preserve. And we're about halfway up there, and there's just guys with machine guns. And I'm like, oh, fuck, this is what you read about. What are we doing? But they were just like, go through. That's great. So we get up to the game reserve, and there's 3 parks or 3 central places where you can stay. So we're over here, and it takes like 3 hours to get there. And they're like, here's 10 rules you're supposed to follow. We broke everyone. And you basically, there's no AAA, there's no cell phone. You get hit by an elephant or whatever, attacked by, you're done. And at one point, I was driving, whatever, on the other side with a shifter and going too fast. And we end up kind of like going on our side. And we tipped it over. No one was hurt, nothing. Fine. We got some other people to tip it over. But like at that time, if we were attacked by an elephant or whatever, we've been screwed. So, but to go to that park all these parks are diminishing, getting smaller. It was just so cool and free. And we got to see all the animals. And then also when we got back from that trip, we got to go to Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe, which was mind blowing as well. And then we got to go walk along the falls and then go up the Zambezi River about that and, saw hippos and all that kind of stuff. So that was amazing. And then the other trip was going to Galapagos Islands.
Wow.
We did an adventure cruise. So you get out and do stuff. It's not like, okay, I'm going to go, have brunch or whatever and stand in line with a bunch of other fat people. You go out and do things on pongas. So you go from island to island to island. And just the wildlife, it was amazing. So of the two, I would tell people to go to Galapagos first, because you have the water involved as well. But those were amazing. But in terms of countries, I've been pretty lucky to go to a lot. My wife's been to probably at least twice as many as I. But one thing also, everyone wants to go see other things. I've been to 42 states. I'm going to get, hopefully in a couple of years, hit all 50.
Okay.
I think people should see more of the rest of the country. And when I was in New York City, so many bros came and visited me. Now I'm in Charleston. People are doing that as well. You go and see what you have in this country is my, key takeaway. Is there's so many cool things here.
There's some really pretty places out there for sure. What's the next state? What's the next state you haven't been to that you're going to?
Next what?
The next state that you haven't been to that you're going to go to?
Oh, so there's Kentucky, which is an outlier. Okay. So I'm just going to bang that out. There's 5 in the Great Plains states, Oregon, and then I'm going to end in Alaska. And then the next country I'm planning to go to is my wife and I she got property in 92 in Belize on Ambergris Key. We've never been. I think we own it. I mean, the thing's like on a napkin. It might be on a nuclear waste site. I have no idea. I just want to see, is this real or not? So that's probably our next trip. Can I go check that out?
Love it, man. This has been a lot of fun. I'm ready for the stare into the flame portion of the program. Are you ready?
Yeah, right. Ready to go. All right.
I learned that stare into the flame from you. You gave it to us. Here you go. Which house on campus made it easy for you to love to hate them?
Sigma Nu. And the main reason at the time, most people will understand this, but some people, when we moved houses, they're our next door neighbor. Yeah. And they weren't the worst house, but they were just our next door neighbor. And I lived in the house for 3 years. So they were just right there. And we would just fuck with them all the time. I played soccer with some of the guys. They were kind of cool, but most of the house, there was this weird animosity. It was just our proximity.
If it wasn't the loafers, it was just the fact that they were just a bunch of nerds living right next door to us made it easy.
Correct.
Which bro was the biggest dick to you while you were a pledge?
The biggest dick, I would say there were a multitude at that time. There were still some older guys. But I would say it's probably Phil Coates, but he was also our pledge. He was like the assistant pledge trainer.
Had to be.
So he came in, he was an angry guy.
Yeah. Friedman was that for us, but there was always a wink and a nod to whatever he said. He would shut up or I'm going to hit you. And then he would give you one of those, or pull you into his room.
Yeah, exactly. Phil did not.
You stole my thunder on this next question. I was going to ask you about your dream matchup for Arsenal but you apparently had it all suited and booted. So I'll go with this. Over under 25. How many black band shirts do you have? If I were to bet over under 25, and I'm going to take the over on that, how many do you have? You think have?
You would be smart to take the over. And I used to only wear white t-shirts. It's only been the last 10, 15 years I started wearing black, but I've just gone out and gotten them. And I'm wearing shorts and flip-flops and this, This is what I wear all the time
The
now,
Carl uniform.
which is my new thing, which is great, and that's why I love being, having our own company. Um, yeah, definitely, it's probably 40 or 50.
Okay. Word or phrase you picked up at EI that you'll never forget and still rings inside your head today?
It's got to be EYB. I heard that on the other ones, but it just, I mean, because Friedman would say it all the time, and I was roommates with him for a
Ooh.
semester. So yeah, he in the front room.
Okay, here you go. Number 5. Other than Slayer, who are the 2 death metal bands that we should be listening to?
So I'm one of this band is one of my favorites. And then if you want something a little different, there's a subgenre of death metal called slam, brutal slamming death metal,
Okay.
uh, peeling flesh.
Okay.
They throw in, they have hip hop sampling. Slam is slower. It's got a groove. The the vocals are unintelligible. It's more of a just that's an
Okay.
instrument. Peeling
All
flesh.
right. I'm going to look that up. My man, you are fantastic. We didn't even get into any of your great success that you're having now with the company that you founded and you're running. Yeah, you want to
Sweet
give me the
spot.
hit on that? Tell me, give us the hit on that.
So sweet spot. This is strange because I never was a big cannabis guy. Um, we, myself and 3 other guys, got a license in Rhode Island for a grow. Didn't know what we were doing. This was in 2017. We now have, we're in 6 states. We have 10 dispensaries. We're building out a bunch more. We are starting franchising this year. We're building out 2 more grows. We have 150 or 175. We probably have 200 employees in this year. And it's super hard. It's because it's federally illegal, but I think that we're not going to fail now. It's how big can we get? I'm hoping to get on 5 years, but I'm really proud of what we've done. And all the things like Kappa Sigma included, going to grad school, working for some jobs that I didn't mention in between in New York City that were just great, that gave me the confidence. I want to be my own boss, but there's a lot comes with it when you're your own boss. I mean, basically, personal guarantees, all this stuff. It's hard to raise money in cannabis, but at this time, um, it's everything I wanted, but more stressful than ever. But at least I own the stress, or all the founders own the
Yeah, and
stress.
it,
It's
and it
awesome.
sounds like you got in at the time that was good to get in, not later and we try to be
Yep,
one of these Me Too that's just trying to take advantage of the gold rush of it
correct.
all and doing it the right way,
Yep.
man. That's great. Good on you and continued success. And
No, I appreciate that.
yeah, and just again, thank you. You are, for me personally, you're one of the more memorable people that I will never forget in terms of my just understanding, becoming a man through this organization and one of the great mentors I ever had and a great friend along the way. I just want to say thank you so much and appreciate you being part of this little project that was born out of more just sitting around bullshitting and asking ourselves the same questions that I'm asking you about right now. So you got a lot to be
Well,
proud. I
thank
think
you
you got
for
a lot to
that.
be
But I
proud
also
of.
want to add that you doing this takes a lot, but you've also done so many other things. You're one of those people that I look at that gets people together, gets people excited. McGrory's in there. There's a whole host of
Yeah.
people, right? That you also with a chapter, how much you did, Reed, Steve Hall, and I know I'm missing some people, other that just bring people in. And so for me, even though I was in New York City, we had no children, so I could blast off. I would go to Vegas and see you guys
Yeah.
there. I would go to, homecoming. Those are so important. I reconnected with so many people that maybe I didn't know. They're in a different clique or a couple years behind me or whatever, or many years behind me that now are friends. But this is an indelible group that you will. It's hard to explain, and I think that's one of the cool things about this podcast is that it doesn't end. We don't need to forget this. We need to keep going. And I look forward to the next homecoming, the next whatever, to the events. We have to have more events. We need to get back to where we were with those giant
Yeah,
homecomings.
I agree. And just kind of put this in the back of your mind. We're going to try and expand that out this year. Homecoming always falls in that weird time, like beginning of November, which is about a month before Founders Day, ours and national. This year, we might try and find a way to blend those together. If homecoming falls in that November window, maybe do the Friday night as a quasi Founders Day, get together, nice dinner with everybody. And then Saturday, a big homecoming fest at the stadium and football and all that other good stuff. So,
That'd be
but
great.
he wrapped it up as best as I could, and way better than I could anyway. And I'm grateful for you, and certainly everything that you laid that foundation for what we talk about now, and the reason for all this to even exist. So much respect to you, sir. I'm grateful to be your brother, and really, really proud of this association. Thank you so very much.
No, likewise. Thanks for having me on. And it wasn't just me; it was so many people before me, and those people that stuck around. We have a huge group of people that stuck around, where other fraternities they
I know.
didn't.
You hear that
So
all the time.
thanks for doing this, and I had a great time, and I look forward to the other people that you're doing too. It's cool. I hope you have many
Oh,
more.
I can't wait. We're just getting started. If we can knock out 2 of these a week, and I'm getting a little better at the editing and putting them together, and I think it'll be fun just to hear from guys across that spectrum of time to, if only just to catch up with them and get a little more than we get out of the cursory, conversations we have every now and then, or over a text or at the homecoming. So, yeah, let's rock.
Sounds good.
Thanks, bro. It's Not Over Yet is a production of EYB Enterprises. This episode of It's Not Over Yet is sponsored by Heavy Fucking Metal. The host of It's Not Over Yet is Jim Miller. Executive producers are David Cisneros, Mike Gonzalez, and Rob Halford. We found a really easy way to be notified of future episodes as they drop. Simply go to itsnotoveryetpodcast.substack.com, drop in your email, and you'll get notified every time we drop a new episode. And if you'd like to be a guest on an upcoming episode, just let us know. We'll have you on as soon as we can. Thanks for coming out.